And you're live on Joy 99.7 FM. This is Ghana Connect. My name is Evans Mensah. Of course, this week, the subject that has dominated the headlines, it's security. Security for members of parliament. In the wake of the murder of the Ifantiman MP and the attack on the family of another MP for Takwa and Swine, the conversation grew louder for members of parliament to be giving personal protection. In the end, the members of parliament hauled the interior minister before it. They dragged him literally there. They closed the doors. They pushed everybody else out and had what they call the committee of the whole, where all members of parliament alone interacted with the interior minister. In the end, when they were done and they opened the doors for the public to pry back, the announcement came that they will be getting personal police protection, personal bodyguards, 200 of them. In fact, the ultimate plan, we were told, will be to deploy as many as 800 police officers to give the members of parliament round-the-clock protection, day, night, and when they are in their vehicles as well, because that is what many of them argue they deserve, because they are Article 71 office holders. And they say, well, there are other colleagues of ours in the public service who enjoy same, so why not us? So tonight, it's your turn to tell me what you make of that. There's a poll running on our social media pages, and the question is a simple one. Do you support the decision to provide members of parliament personal police protection? A is yes, I support it. B is no, I do not support it. But let me give you a sense of how this has played out, particularly in parliament and among those who either agree or disagree.
If you rise against members of parliament as if we are from Afghanistan, as if we are from Congo River Basin, who are brought to come and put down here to serve the nation. Meanwhile, you voted for us. You're supposed to love us, get us closer to you, but you hate parliamentarians. And it's partly because some of you, the media, you incite the general public against us. We must be frank.
If the decision is a popular decision, even if the media or journalists are opposed to it, people would stand up against the media. It is only because the issue is one that is unpopular and I think a bad decision. That is why the media are just basically resonating what is coming from the public. It is not the media that is creating the stories. The media are just speaking to people, and it is what people feel, what people think, that is just being amplified by the media. And therefore, there is no point in saying that the media are inciting members of the public against parliamentarians. I don't think that it is tenable at all.
Security that is being provided for personnel of our constitution under Article 71 is not strictly the political elite. I don't think the Chief Justice is a political animal. He cannot be equated to that. It is not strictly for workings here in Parliament alone. Matters that borders on our public safety. Are members of Parliament citizens or they are not citizens?
It is not asking for too much if we say that MP's personal protection be elevated and enhanced for purpose of securing our lives. At the appropriate time, we will seek public support guided by the Speaker to demand forms of policing.
So, members of parliament, citizens or not, if they are, then you have to argue that they deserve protection. If they are not, then of course take it away, as the members of parliament have argued tonight. So I'm just connecting tonight with Lutfata Song Bawira. Joins us in the studio. Hello, Lutfata. Did I get it right? No, I did not. Okay, let me stick with the first one. Lutfata. Lutfata. Okay, yeah. Great. Thank you for connecting. She's a volunteer with the NGO, National Service Person. Peter Kofi Kilsing Akins will also connect with us tonight. Hadi Yakubu, Fighter General of the Economic Fighters League, will also join us. In fact, he connects in the studio as well and counts with his red beret, ready to fight. Namata is a Ugandan based here in Ghana. The example of Uganda was cited this week when the conversation started. We'll find out what's happening there. George Poku is a Ghanaian based in the U.S. He connects via Zoom. I wonder what happens in the U.S. Do senators and do they have police protection? If they do, of course, then maybe why not? Force is a friend of the show. Connect via Zoom shortly. Also tonight, later we'll be joined by security analyst Emmanuel Sowate, MP for Kumbungu, Ras Mubarak, is connecting with us on the telephone line right now. Hello, Ras.
Evans, good evening.
Good evening. Always happy to have you on Ghana Connect.
My pleasure.
Great. I want to today, of course, start by inviting you to also connect with us wherever you are tonight. This is how you can do so.
Join us now on Twitter, #Ghana Connect Live, Facebook, Joy 99.7 FM, or send us a WhatsApp on 0244 340 437, and we will call you back. Join the nation's biggest conversation now and connect to authority.
Let me start with the Member of Parliament, Ras Mubarak. Ras, has your personal protection detail arrived yet?
I'm sure in the coming days it would be finalized. Leadership from both sides of the House have indicated to members to submit names and staff numbers of personnel they may want to recommend to the IGP, and those who don't have, the IGP would go ahead and assign them personal protection.
Have you submitted your name yet?
I have, yes, this morning.
Oh, goodness me. Oh, okay. I mean, so I'm sure you're licking your lips waiting to get the armed police officer in your vehicle.
Well, not quite even. The thing is that this particular issue is long overdue. If you look at the death of our colleague, and let me make this point, no single member of parliament, past or present, has said, has written, or given an indication that he's not concerned about the well-being and security of the ordinary Ghanaian. We are very much concerned about the security situation in the country. But the country can as well, or government can as well, have a situation where we are walking and chewing gum. In other words, you can improve upon the security situation in the country whilst providing security for members of parliament. Because the thing, Evans, is that having an improved security in the country is no guarantee that, some madman would not want to hurt a member of parliament for ideological reasons, for personal reasons, or for whatever reasons the person may be harboring for wanting to hurt a member of parliament. And fundamental to this debate, because you have to situate it in a context. And the context is that Article 71 office holders, so Supreme Court justices, members of the executive, members of parliament, are entitled to certain privileges. Now, you can't have a situation, Evans, where you give security, as in the case of the executive. And indeed, if you look at members of the executive, ministers, deputies, presidential staffers, and the rest of it, you are looking at about 3,000 police officers who are providing protection for members of the executive. About 3,000 alone. The president alone has about 40 police, military, national security officers. So for the vice president, if you put all these together, you're looking at about 3,000. How much is Parliament asking for? And must we wait for criminals to waste the life of members of Parliament, persons we have elected to represent all of us?
Yeah, I mean, you make an important point there, and then the other point that you make that I guess I want to also touch on is that, I mean, Article 71 of holders and their privileges, all part of the Constitution that we all promulgated. The people said, yeah, we'll give you all those, and so why are you saying MPs should not deserve it? I guess that's an argument that definitely will come up, and I want to bring in to interact with you, Ras, our guest in the studio as well, who would like to connect with you. Ludfata, so he's listening. As a constituent, I mean, you live in the place, you have a member of parliament, he's one of those who get it. What you interact with him? What do you say to him?
So first of all, I would like to say it's a good decision for us to have security personnel protecting the people that are managing our affairs. However, if we are going to have these people protecting them, what then are they doing to ensure that our lives are also protected on the outside? So I'm going to take it from the UN point of view, where they are saying that each policeman is supposed to guide or protect about 500 people or citizens. And so in Ghana, we have about 24 million plus police officials, and we are already lacking as far as the number is concerned. So if we are going to get 200 more or 800 subsequently for the members of parliament, what then happens to we the individuals when we don't even have 1:500 that the UN has already, stipulated that it should already happen for citizens like myself?
That's a question.
So the question is, I don't think anyone is arguing that they don't deserve security or they don't deserve protection, but then if all of that is done, in my opinion, it shouldn't be permanent, but it should be temporary. And as far as it's being temporary for them, what are they doing to ensure that our lives on the outside is protected? How many people are they going to employ? How are they going to ensure that their lives are better off, so they'll be able to protect us in the best way that we deserve as Ghanaians?
Hadi.
Evans, good evening, and good evening to everyone connecting. I'd like to say a special good evening to Namata, who is the creative head of Economic Fighters League. Evans, I'd like to ask, why do our ministers have police protecting them?
Because they are moving, because they serve you.
So,
and when they serve you, they naturally put themselves in harm's way. People, they become targets for people because he's in power, he has influence, he may deny somebody a contract who may be upset. All that comes once you put them in that position. So that's why they deserve it.
Evans, can I also make the argument that you, as Evans Mensah, you serve me as a member of the public?
Why am I even putting myself in this? Ras Mubarak is getting a protection. Why am I arguing for him? Please ask him the question. He's there. He's listening to you.
No, I'm asking about. So
ask him. He's there. Directly listening to you.
Being made that ministers and deputy ministers are getting police protection, members of the executive, and that therefore members of the legislature also deserve police protection. My point is that members of the executive, ministers, deputy ministers, presidential staffers, why do they need police protection?
Do you want to ask the man who is getting one recently? Ras.
Well, I mean, it's even a constitutional provision, and you see, people may be taking this lightly.
Abego, he says a constitutional provision. Which part of the Constitution says you deserve a police protection?
There are instances, and I'll get to that. There are instances where Parliament is, debating on very sensitive issues, some highly classified. You don't want a situation where someone would accost a minister or a deputy or a member of Parliament and just, pick up a very highly classified document from them. Secondly, in the line of our work, I mean, take my committee, for instance, the Public Accounts Committee. There are instances where people would appear before the committee and they would really get riled up or embarrassed based on, certain infractions that they have overseen. It's not everybody who is happy with that. So
that can put a target on your back.
Absolutely.
Okay, Hadi, that's your answer.
Yeah, I mean, Evans, clearly.
He's Ras Mubarak, by the way. This is an interaction between yourselves.
Yeah.
Mr. Mubarak.
Good evening, Mr. Mubarak.
Good evening, Hadi.
The point really is that, you see, in Ghana, we like to solve problems by looking at the easy way out. So roads are not good in constituencies and rural areas. Let's give our ministers Land Cruisers so that they can travel to their constituencies. Roads are not good. Let's provide some facilities so that our members of Parliament can buy 4x4 vehicles so that they can go. If you allow me, please.
Very well.
Our educational system is not good, so those who can afford, please send your children abroad or provide for private tuition for them at high level international, primary and junior high schools in Accra. We do not have security is deteriorating. Okay, let's provide police and military protection for the people who are. No. What about the security of the people? I can enumerate here, Evans. Just during from the period that we went into lockdown up to now, the number of people who have been hit one way or the other through armed robbery, through all manner, even in the cases where people have been assaulted by even Eric Ofochu at Asherman, the guy who was sleeping in the market, he was shot dead. Nothing happened. Ahmed Swale was shot dead. Nothing happened. People have been killed over and over and over again. Nothing is happening. I have not seen the members of parliament invite the Minister of Interior to ask him what has happened to the case with Ahmed Swale. Have you investigated what are the issues? People, what happened to the case with Eric Ofochu? Have you investigated it? Who committed that murder? What have you done to him? Have you taken the person to court? If people are being killed on a daily basis, citizens whose taxes are being used to pay the salaries of members of parliament and ministers and the president, these lives essentially don't matter. They can be killed anyhow, and nobody would even bother to find out what is the issue, what is the cause of, and nobody will bring those who have killed those people to book.
Yeah, Ras.
And then and we are making the argument that...
Yeah, Ras, a quick one, and I'll bring in Peter.
Yes, so, Evans, the point is that members of parliament are providing oversight. In the case of Ahmed Swale, the record is there. Not only was the Minister for Interior hauled, I personally read a statement on the floor in that regard and called for government to do more in protecting the ordinary Ghanaian.
What is the outcome? What is the outcome so far?
The parliamentary hazard is available. Secondly, even in my own constituency, in December of 2016, one of my constituents were hit by a stray bullet. 3 days into my tenure, the issue was raised on the floor to the extent that compensation has been proffered to the person who was hit by a stray bullet. So members of parliament in diverse ways are providing oversight. Day in, day out, you hear about ministers of parliament, ministers of state appearing before the House to answer questions. Fundamentally, even, he talks about members of parliament driving in big cars. Look, my constituency is probably 12 hours from Accra. Are you telling me that I should commute to and fro? And mind you, I go to my constituency every 2 weeks. Every 2 weeks. Tell me which vehicle economically would be good to use in the line of my duty. Is it a saloon car? Okay? And even the unfairness of the system is even what's mind-boggling. A lot of people don't know what MPs are going through, and perhaps this is an opportune time. Members of the executive are given vehicles, okay? These vehicles are fueled by the state. Drivers paid by the state, insured by the state, maintained by the state. And after their tenure of office, they are allowed to buy the vehicles if they can afford it. A member of parliament takes a loan, guaranteed by the state.
Like all of us.
No, Evans, not like all of us.
But you don't take loans.
No, what is the interest rate? Okay. And that thing is guaranteed by the state. So
okay.
It's not
the same. Okay. Yeah, go on. Yeah, go on. Yes.
So we take a loan, we take a facility to buy vehicles.
Evans.
The work of the state. Whereas members of
George, give me a second. I'll bring you in shortly from the U.S.
Members of the judiciary, have facilities, okay, and Ghanaians don't have a problem with it. Even in the pecking order, members of the executive are nowhere near members of parliament in the pecking order. Okay? And all of a sudden, it's okay for ministers and deputies and chief executive officers and DCs who are nowhere near members of parliament in the pecking order to drive V8.
Yeah,
MPs, look at how far away.
Yeah, I mean, just hold a second, George. George, yes, George is connecting us with us from Georgia. Just a second. Yeah, George from Georgia.
No. Honorable Mubarak, you have said something that I really want clarification on. When you put yourself forward to run your constituency and become the MP, I hope the intent or the mindset was not that the people of Ghana or the people of your constituency were supposed to foot your bill back and forth when you have to go see them. So the argument you are making that you have to go to your constituency every week, and so what kind of vehicle would you have to run in? I think that should be something that you making that decision that you want to serve the word, underline that word, serve your community. That is why you decided to be elected, or you decided to present yourself for election. The serve part of it means you have to do whatever it takes, if even the government does not provide you with a car. But you are talking about you get a loan that is guaranteed by the state. Not every average Ghanaian gets a loan that is guaranteed by the state. So again, I really want to understand the arguments you are making along those lines. Honorable Mubarak, please, if you could elaborate a little bit on that.
Till midnight. As I speak to you, even, I've pulled up on my way to Koforidua. What's the time? It's almost 7, right?
Yes, 6:32.
It's a weekend. You know, the ordinary Ghanaian probably is at home spending time with family.
No.
I'm driving to Koforidua to do the public business. There are instances when members of parliament will stay till 1 a.m.
No, but again, this is a choice that you made. Like me, I chose to be an accountant. I chose to be a financial analyst. At midnight, people call me asking me to do what they have entrusted in my hands, and I do not complain because I chose that line of business. So if you chose to become a servant of the nation, a servant of your constituency, and you are serving them, why are you making it sound like it's
simple-minded argument?
You are doing them a favor.
If you have a house help, a servant in your house, would you say because the person is a servant, you wouldn't pay the person a salary? So would you be one of those people who are abusing their house help simply because they are servants? Is that your argument?
Okay, so hold on with that question. I want to bring in Peter. Peter, yeah, where do you stand on this?
Oh, right. It's quite unfortunate that in recent situations we've had MPs attacked. I'm completely indifferent about this whole issue as to whether I was going to pick sides in defending a point that MPs should be protected or they shouldn't be protected at all. In recent situations, Ghana has more like turned into a state of people engaging in contract killing. We've had a state of kidnapping and ransom, which demonstrates the country in a situation of an Italian mafioso, more like. We have a security infrastructure of about 200 people being given to members of parliament. Ordinarily, given the UN citizen to police ratio, that is 1 to 500, it means that 200 police personnel of that number can cater for about 1 million citizens. And so you are extending people that have the capacity to protect.
That's a very interesting way to put it. So that's 1 million people without protection because the MPs because 200 MPs got
exactly, and you are extending such social support system to 200 people. That is grossly unfair.
As against 1 million.
As against 1 million, just to protect the elite privileged. You understand? That is not the kind of society that we ought to build. In spite of the fact that members of parliament play a very crucial role in the nation building, and the fact that we have about 200 judges who are under high security protection, we have members of the executives, and even most importantly, out of the 275 parliamentarians, there are about 67 of them who are ministers and deputy ministers of state. And these MPs have or enjoy the same security protection that their colleagues who are not ministers but are members of parliament do not enjoy. And so you are tempted to make the argument that how can you be in a house where 67 of you enjoy a certain benefit or privilege and the rest do not enjoy. Though to an extent you perform the same function, because for those who are not ministers, a lot of them perform other parliamentary functions at the committee levels, at the international level, because you have some members of parliament performing functions at the ECOWAS parliament and all. And so if we're going to deal with such issue, members of parliament generally deserve protection. However, the core concern should be the general security of the state.
Okay, so where do you draw the balance? Should we give them chicken and egg?
Yes,
chicken and egg. Should we give them first before you do, or what is it?
Look, the other argument is also that you cannot also say that you want to wait and then break the police-citizen ratio
improves.
Yeah,
before you give them.
You go and give parliamentarians the needed protection. If we are going to drag the argument to that extent, then another person can come and tell us that, okay, if that is the case, then the president doesn't deserve any protection, then the DC doesn't deserve any protection, any other person working in any state organization also doesn't deserve any protection. That is, if you are going to stretch the argument
as a citizen,
to that level,
the MPs deserve it.
They deserve it.
But
that is one side. But then the general consensus.
Everybody deserves protection.
Yeah, exactly. So MPs are also citizens.
But we must
remember.
Good point.
And Evans, the point is, MPs are not occupying the portfolios on dynastic situations. They are not going to be there forever. After 4 years, they pack their tools, they are out of the house. New people come and occupy such portfolios. And so you, Evans, if you're an MP of your constituency, you are not going to be there forever. Another time, Hadi Yakubu may have the privilege of going to represent his constituency, and he might probably take over your place. Now, if he finds himself in a situation where his life is threatened, would he rely on his personal security protection strategies to enhance his own security at the expense of the service to the state, or he is going to call the state for protection? Let's remind ourselves that this is not the first time MPs have called for protection. I mean, like Ras Mubarak said,
the only difference is that this time they actually got it.
Exactly, it's been long overdue, and so let us not put ourselves in a situation where we will have about 5 to 10 parliamentarians die before we start making the calls. And let me repeat this emphatically, that they do not own the portfolios they occupy forever. One day, any of us sitting here may be in the capacity to serve in Parliament.
Okay, I mean, you've asked some very important questions that Hadi wants to take on, and also Ludfata shortly. But I want to go back to George. George. Hello, George.
Yes. Go ahead.
George, I want to ask you, in the U.S., what happens? Senators, don't they have police protection?
They have detail, and within the detail, most of it are more of FBI agents rather than police.
Secret Service too, right?
It's a whole Secret Service detail, FBI, and things like that. So my point is, if we want to go down that road, let's get another arm of our security apparatus to do that, rather than taking police. That as it stands, the citizens of Ghana are not fully protected, even with the police force that we have. So pulling some more off the ground, I think, is going to be very detrimental, because we read constantly, we hear constantly of other people being shot and killed by these armed robbers. That even now that these policemen and women have not been pulled to join up just to give protection to the MPs. All of this is happening. Ghana right now, it's very, very dangerous to live there. So if you are going to do that, I think we should rather go on a line of trying to create a division that we recruit people that are solely trained to do the protection of the MPs. Like Peter said, I do not have a problem with them getting the protection, but I feel like he also stated before at the beginning of his statement that the citizen to police ratio as at now, we haven't even satisfied it. So create the same way, different apparatus have been created within the security service. Create one that is solely for the protection of the MPs.
And use that for that particular purpose. George, stay with me. I want to bring in student of security with 22 years experience doing that. in security generally. You know him as Emmanuel Sowate. He's now with the Institute of Criminology, University of Cambridge. Joins us on the telephone line right now. Mr. Sowate, I'm grateful that you could join us. I'm pretty sure you've been following this. Where do you stand on this?
Yeah, as usual, it's a joy being on Joy. Good evening to your listeners. A number of things. I think that at the heart of the discussion is what assessment went into that decision. I prefer student of security. Now, let me give you just a few to that. In 1999, I was a graduate student, and Kofidra taught me. And Kofidra in 1999, Kofidra used to be at Political Science Department, Legon. In 1999, when I was a graduate student, Kofidra had taught for 40 years. And he said he was a student of politics. And that has inspired me recently. So I prefer 22 years experience, but student of security. Now, and it's true, I'm at the University of Cambridge Institute of Criminology. I'm a criminologist. At the heart of what we are discussing from a perspective of a criminologist is how we define and conceive of safety. Particularly what type of assessment, threat assessment went into the discussion, not emotions, not just truth and statistics. What assessment went into that decision?
Well, it appears to me as a citizen that the assessment is that one MP was shot and killed. I mean, another MP was also attacked.
No, don't go there. That's
I mean, that's the only reason that we've had in Parliament.
One statistics will not make that argument. So let's not go there. So usually you want to ask about this assessment. And when you talk about assessment, you are looking at the methodology. What type of methodology? What are the strengths and the weaknesses of the methodology? How can the methodology be improved? And those methodologies are not national security issues. They are methodologies that can be put out for people to interrogate. One reason for that is that when you put out methodology, it is true that you limit the constituencies that can engage with the methodology. It is true. But what happens is that when you put out the methodology, when you have robust engagement, you would then, on both sides, those who are for, who are against, would sometimes find common grounds. And then those information can help sensitize the public. If they already support such a motion or such a move, you will sensitize them to play a particular role. So, for example, if the threat says that, okay, from 92 to now, we've had X number of MPs, X number have died, they had been killed because they were MPs and not because they were individuals. And they are symbolic value, because you see, there's also that symbolic part that when you attack, of course, if you attack you as a media person, there's a symbolic value. If you attack a policeman, there's a symbolic value. If you attack a chief. So let me stay with the MP. Because of the symbolic value and the role they play, everybody has a role to play. For example, every policeman will tell you that without informants, the work is about 99% very difficult. If you have informants, trusted informants, it makes the work easy. How? Because you get timely and reliable information that you process into intelligence to prevent crime, and then when it has occurred, you can solve it. When it comes to criminology, there are different schools of thought that try to explain issues around deterrence. But for sake of making it simple, let me categorize them into three distinct domains, although the domains are still connected. The first one has to do with the severity of the punishment. So they believe that when the punishment is severe, it deters people. The second one has to do with the swiftness of the punishment. And then the third one has to do with the certainty of arrest. In the past, the dominant narrative was that the severity of punishment was almost coterminous with a vouched safe deterrence. Emerging studies are challenging this old orthodoxy and pointing clearly that it is the certainty of arrest. Now, when it comes to certainty of arrest before, during, or after the crime, when it comes to the certainty of arrest, that is why I can chip in the informants. Because, once again, the police are not ubiquitous as they went. They rely, repeating myself, on informants. And so when you realize that you need a vast constituents who are critical actors within the broader security apparatus and how effective that apparatus can be, then you realize that there is a strong correlation between particular constituencies and the masses. In simple terms, when we are talking about the security of the MP having a policeman or a policewoman, we should also understand that within particular context and conditions, that policeman, policewoman will be efficient if the broader society have at least some minimum understanding of the essence of that deployment, and lastly, are willing to play a role. The other one has to do with the issue of safety. What do you mean by the safety of the MP? Is it the MP as an individual or the family of the MP? Because you see, if you want to hurt somebody, and okay, I don't want to say everything, but you see, if you want to hurt somebody and you can't get the person, depending on the motive, because the motive or the intention is important, you can then get somebody that the person loves. That is why in security, one of the most dangerous things is patience. Patience. One, you are slow to speak, slow to anger, but quick to listen. Now, patience is because nobody can keep their security level. For example, if the best is 100, it's very difficult to maintain that 100 for a long time. At a point in time, that 100 will drop. So, for example, one of the discussants had made a very brilliant point. His unit of analysis was the individual, and saying that that individual would come and go from parliament. And so when the person leaves, the person, depending on the motive for which somebody wants to hurt the person, might still continue on my end. The other one is that if the unit of analysis, if the institution, as for example the parliament, they are going to have these numbers always there. One thing people don't know, and I hope that as we develop as a country, the retired, for example, military, retired police will be more robust, because those in service sometimes cannot speak. When it comes to the police service, the commanders struggle a lot for guard duties. People think that if you have like 200 police personnel and you have maybe 10 protecting the executive and maybe the judiciary, all the rest are doing routine police duty, i.e. patrols, investigation. If you know the number of guard duties that takes personnel from commanders, you cry for them. But sometimes when you're in service, you can't say distance. And I think that we need to understand that those numbers do not mean that they are there, and those numbers do not do routine police duties. They are already constrained. If we want to give police protection, which I think that there are short-term interventions and long-term interventions, and repeating myself, the security of the MP cannot be guaranteed by a single policeman, even if the person has 3 magazines fully loaded with AK-47, which is 90 rounds. You cannot, because you need to know the type of threat you are engaging with. What are the resources those people have?
You almost
and how can you proactively deal with those threats?
Yeah.
And I think that if we think more broadly, we will strengthen the symbolic security of parliament, which I think is fine, but also the ordinary people, because the two are mutually reinforcing.
And Mrs. Swati, thank you very much for joining us and connecting. And you make a point, and Luke Fat, I want to bring you in here. The point he makes that sort of resonates with me is, if you fail to provide the security of the people, even one police officer guarding an MP will be meaningless. Because if the society is insecure, that police officer himself is going to be a target. He can't do much. So there are broader questions there. I mean, but the question is, that is something that you fix over time, right? So what do? Do you wait to infinity and not provide the MPs with the protection, as you said, is long overdue?
I don't think we would have to wait for now. In my opinion, we can give them the security that they need, because we're already heading towards the December polls, so we will need to protect their lives. We will need to protect the citizens as well. But in the long run, what do we do to ensure that the people are safe? Again, we are quoting statistics. The average citizen, it takes that person 26 minutes to be able to reach the police officer to get to where any crime scene is occurring. Which means that if you're going to take 200 out of what we already have, like Peter said in his argument, you are already ensuring that 1 million of people are not going to be protected for a particular period. So it means that it would take an extra minute or hour before a police officer can be available to protect an average citizen. And what does this do to the entire population? What are we telling the people? Are we saying that some lives are better than others, or are we saying that everybody's life matters? But
really, if you look at it, I mean, this is a difficult one, but I've heard somebody argue that MPs are special species. And the argument goes, the mere fact that you elect them to go and represent you is an admission that they are special. And so they deserve some level of special treatment compared to the rest of us.
The people can take them out of office whenever they need.
You can, but you will put somebody there. That person, once you do that, you elevate that person to a special status.
I don't think
and
it's
you can't say that.
I don't think it's a good thing for us to elevate other people when we all live in a particular place. You don't. But you elevate the person by virtue of voting for them. Yes, I voted because I believed in the person, and I believe that the person deserves the protection. I believe that the person should be giving the protection that he or she deserves.
So he's getting
but
it.
then why do you do that at the expense of mine?
Okay.
That then becomes the problem. I think that's what a lot of people are arguing about.
Okay.
They should be giving the security, but what are they doing? That's what I want
for everybody else
to speak.
Okay.
What are you doing to ensure that if 200 is taking, we are still going to get the security that we need? Because already in the country, how efficient has the police force been over time? How are we ensuring that people are going to be protected? The street lights are not working. Police officers are not available to ensure that everyone is protected, and you're still going to take 200 out of what we already have. What then happens to
I get a sense that generally because people feel a sense of insecurity, it's probably why we're having this backlash for the MPs. That if a sense of security is there, we all felt safe, and the average time the police responds probably 6 minutes, then it's okay. I'm secure. Then MP can have it. I wonder whether it is an African thing, the poverty of security, call it like that. Yes, that's possibly why we're having this. I want to bring in Namata because the Ugandan example was cited this week, and that conversation I believe they've had it also, and I believe they will have the poverty of security as much as we do. Namata, so with that background, you've listened in. What do you say?
Good evening, everyone. I will first begin by offering my condolences to the family of the MP who was slain. It's very interesting. Sometimes when you look at Ghanaian news, all you have to do is switch out the names for Ugandan names, and it's exactly the same story. A couple of years ago, in June 2018, an MP called Ibrahim Abiriga was killed out on his way home. He was shot dead in his vehicle. He was in the company of his bodyguard. I think that's an important fact. He was in the company of his bodyguard. At around the time that he was killed, there were also other people, senior police officers, Muslim clerics who were being killed. And beyond them, we also had women being abducted, raped, and murdered on the streets. Now, the Ugandan parliament did very much the same that the Ghanaian parliament has done, which is to go and immediately seek for their own protection, which was granted to them. Clerics were not offered protection. All these other people were not offered protection. So for me, it became a problem, and for the general public of Uganda, much in the same way that people are complaining about it here, the question then became, are we not just stratifying the classes here? Are we not looking at a situation where we are saying, okay, we have a problem that is impacting our entire society, and instead of dealing with it at that level.
Hello, Namata. Oh, the internet is misbehaving there, because I really want to hear how this was resolved after the public backlash.
We are saying, well, let us just put what would be needed to protect them. And in which we have rising crime, rising violence. Hello?
Yes, I can hear you. We lost you briefly, but you're back.
Okay. So essentially what I was saying is that once you start asking the question of how you decide who gets protection and who doesn't, the question also becomes, what is the situation that is we are dealing with? What sort of situation are we dealing with as a greater society that results in greater crime? I would have liked if before we started creating sort of iron bubbles around certain sections of society, if we were to begin by saying, well, okay, what is creating this sort of fall in physical security? How is the economic security of the people who are living in this country? What is creating the situation? Are we looking at these facts? Are there parallels between, for example, unemployment and rising crime? What is creating that situation? That is the jurisdiction of the MPs. If the MPs were to maybe now sit down and look at those situations and say, how can we address it so that as a greater society, we are able to create better security. Then I think we would be getting somewhere. That would be a more sustainable approach. But this situation just creates a bubble, which to me, in some ways, is very reminiscent of the colonial era. When you had the British in both Kampala and Accra, they came in and they set up their sort of cities that were designed to serve just them. And then they surrounded themselves with security for just them to sort of insulate them against the masses. Now, that is not a system that serves the people. Let's not emulate those sort of structures. Let's not use that sort of power to just protect ourselves. Why don't we just understand, gain a better understanding of the issues that are facing us as a broader society and address it from that perspective?
Yeah, I mean, that is a more difficult thing to do, and it would require the MPs expending some real brain power, and the politicians generally. But as we've seen, they will take the, as to say, easy way out. I know you're going to say that. I know you're going to end for me. But Hadi, to that question, and I think Namata also touched on it. So we've seen it in Uganda, we have seen it here. But I asked that question back again. Yes, security may be a problem for everybody, but once you decide to vote, right, and you elect somebody to represent you, you are inherently saying, I'm giving you special status. So although I don't have, I'm going to give you that which I don't have, which is my security. So you get the protection. So you can represent me. Isn't that a sound argument to make? For which reason the MPs deserve it?
No, this is the
George, you disagree. I'll come to George. You disagree. I'll come to shortly. I want to hear George. I know. I'll come to the Hadi in 30 seconds. Just make the point for me.
This is the other side of the argument. The essence of representative democracy is not because the person elected to represent you is necessarily inherently better than the one who does the election. In actual fact, in a true democracy, the person who does the election is supposed to be the one who is special, who is supposed to be served by the one who is elected. And in any case, if you look at the Article 71, that bogus article in the Second Constitution, yes, it's a bogus article in the Second Constitution that says that members of parliament, ministers, certain institutional heads are entitled to ex gratia every 4 years.
Yeah.
You know, that somebody...
Remember that we had a referendum and we all approved it. So
No, but the point is that all these, they're talking about working midnight, but these are things that they are entitled to, that the ordinary teacher,
he disagrees that we give the special status to them and therefore deserve it.
No.
Well, I don't think we'd ever find ourselves in a society where equality would ever exist. It has never existed since the time of Adam, so I think we can suspend the argument for now. However, let us look at the way forward in providing very pragmatic solutions to
equality.
Namata disagrees with you. But in 30 seconds, make the point.
So I'm thinking, 3 years ago, Boris Johnson made a policy proposal to enroll about 20,000 new police personnel into the British police service. That is very commendable. Now, we are falling short of the numbers in terms of citizen to police ratio, and so I'm thinking that politicians who are running up for offices, hopefully in the presidential elections,
should make it a priority.
Cover policies to expand the capacity level of our police.
For everybody else.
Also look at, bringing up strategies for community policing. Evans, I'm sure during President Kufuor's time we had periods where they used to wear yellow.
Yeah.
And they were patrolling our communities on bicycles and all. I mean, they tend to ensure.
So you want that?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
These can be deployed in the very rural areas, and also with a sophisticated infrastructure. You would agree with me that we are logistic-wise
very deficit. I want to quickly tell you what people have told us on the poll. I'll quickly bring in Rasmus Barak to end for me what he makes of the poll results. This is what you told us. Okay, Ernest, what question did we ask?
So we asked the question, do you support government's decision to provide police protection to members of parliament? Explain your answer. So that's A, yes, I support. B, no, I don't support it. Now, we have 60% of the people who connected with us saying no, they do not support it. and then 40% saying yes, they support it. A few of the comments here. This one from FF Back says, those saying no, imagine your father is a member of parliament and always has a threat on his life. That is something that we must look at. Pop Sugar says, your life is threatened even though you are not an MP. By that logic, every government official must have a police escort. How is that practical?
Yeah, I see. Lydia Forson says, I will never support calls for MPs to be provided with security. What happens to the ordinary Ghanaian who gets killed on his way to work? Are MPs now placing their interests above the very people who put them in the office? There are many questions begging for answers.
Wood D. Eric says, this simply means that their lives are more important than the average Ghanaian. And is my MP more important than my mother in Amansia Central, who travels every week to the northern sector to trade and always attacked by armed robbers? And that's the question that
Bofa says, if they want protection, there are lots of security companies in Ghana. They should pay them to follow them everywhere they go. Some security companies are licensed to carry guns, so they should look sharp and not abuse the power given them.
One very interesting one here says, Ibrahim Karim tweeting at us says, what goes around comes around. The laws are just not being enforced because of political interference and affiliation. What happens to those who murdered Major Maxwell Mahama, Muntie 3? What happened to Kennedy Japan when he... Alright, so he goes on and on and on.
Yeah. Rasmus, so there you have it. The poll, almost 1,000 people disapprove of the decision, and you appear to be on the wrong side, members of parliament, of public opinion here. Briefly, your reaction to this?
We are on the right side of history. The death of 2 MPs is enough to get us to wake up. The fact is that not only have 2 MPs lost their lives, but several MPs have come under one form of attack or the other. And Evans, the point we are not even looking at is the fact that it embarrasses our country to think that, people can just take out sitting members of parliament like that and nothing happens. Clearly, it's something we should be embarrassed about.
Yeah, but that happens to ordinary people all the time. People get killed and investigations.
You are not embarrassed by that?
No, even.
Let him in 30 seconds because we need to wrap up.
He may not see...
Not embarrassed by ordinary people being killed every day?
He may not see the point, but we are not an island in isolation. But the fundamental point I wanted to make, Evans, Joe Cox, a sitting member of parliament in the UK, was stabbed to death in 2016. As a matter of fact, the stab was so repeated that if she had had a bodyguard, probably, her life would have been saved by now. So having enhanced security for the ordinary Ghanaian is no guarantee that some lunatic will not get up one day and say he doesn't like this NDC MP or he doesn't like that MPP MP, and for which reason he wants to attack him and take his life. And I think that Parliament is done so much in terms of calling for enhanced security
for everybody.
For everybody. Look at the CCTV cameras all over the place. Even they had to take parliaments to do some probing and pushing to get all of those things up. Okay, day in, day out, Parliament has called for enhanced security for everybody.
Yeah, I mean, so
and
I guess
we are working in the interest of the Ghanaians.
Yeah, okay. I mean, so your argument is that you've done enough to earn this protection.
Of course.
Well,
what is the outcome of the
It says the outcome is a security CCTV you are seeing be mounted. It's part of the
but then that means it protects them as well.
It protects you too.
Yeah, I mean, we also need protection from the politicians. They are not serving us. We need protection from them.
Thank you very much, Ludfata, Peter, Hardy, of course, Namata, great perspective from Uganda, George, great perspective from Georgia. Of course, Emmanuel Sowate, student of security, 22 years experience doing this, Cambridge University criminologist, and of course, Ras Mubarak. You really managed to interact with the red beret wearing revolutionaries. I'm grateful that you joined us with your thoughts on Ghana Connect tonight. Up next, obviously, is Local Room with George Ado Jr.